Can you remember the day you decided who you want to be? I don't mean what you want to do, I mean who you want to be, right? Because I can remember exactly what day that was. It was the day that I watched Top Gun and I decided that I wanted to be Maverick. Now I share this story very freely with you now because I think it's funny. I used to have to sort of conceal that because I don't think it's a done thing to join the armed forces because of a movie. Either way, I was hugely supported by my family and by my teachers, and so I went off and joined the Air Force. And if I'm honest, I thought I was going to be pretty good at it. I'd always been successful at everything I did to that point. I was deputy head girl, straight A student, going to Cambridge University, all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was going to be easy. And I remember the day it got hard. I was flying the Hawk. And if you're not sure what that is, look for red arrows. So it's what the red arrows fly. So this is like a little, fighter fast jet plane. Goes at 7 miles a minute, right? And as I was getting towards my final exam, I could feel my confidence starting to desert me, and I was really doubting myself. And I essentially fell apart. When I went up for my final exam, my instructor had to take control from me when I landed on the runway because I was about to veer off onto the grass, right? I'd gone from being able to fly a 4-ship formation of fast jets at 450 miles an hour, 100 meters above the ground, to not being able to drive in a straight line, right? So I totally fell apart under pressure, which was crushing. But it turned out to be the catalyst for something much bigger, which applies to you. And it is this: you need to practice scared, right? What you want to do in life, it's not going to fall on your lap. It's not going to happen because you're naturally good at it or because you keep doing what you're already good at. It happens because you practice scared. And that might seem obvious, but I think it's important to remind ourselves of this, because if we're really honest, most of us live quite comfortable lives because of technology and all the amazing things the world gives us. And I think that means we've learned to distrust discomfort. The minute it feels uncomfortable, we think, I must be on the wrong path. But actually, I think it means you're on exactly the right path, and you need to lean into that discomfort. And when I look back, the clues were there, actually. I remember speaking to someone when I was going through fast jet training who didn't fail and went on to be a Typhoon pilot. And I remember he said to me, when you strap into the jet, do you ever expect someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, we've finally caught up with you. You're not supposed to be here. He was describing imposter syndrome to a T. We didn't have the words for it back then. But I remember feeling this relief that I wasn't the only one that felt that way. But also I was curious to know how he dealt with it. And I said, well, but what do you do? And he just smiled and went, you just go flying anyway. In other words, you practice scared. And I realise now that is what I've been doing all of the way through my military. So I went on to fly helicopters, but I carried on doing things that scared me. So, getting back in that helicopter after I'd hit cables, or flying special forces missions under fire, or deploying to Afghanistan when my son was really young, and worrying, being scared of what people thought of me. And I think because I was in the military, I assumed it was just my job to do scary things. So it took a while for the penny to drop that actually that's the key to, has much wider application in life, because every time you practice scared, so you do the scary thing repeatedly, it's not just the scary thing you can do, it's any scary thing, because you're training your brain. I can do scary things, I can survive them, and I can do them well. And the same is true for you. Anything you want to do, to be good at under pressure, it all comes down to practicing scared. So that's my story. I hope that you can recognise some part of you in my story, and hopefully this will inspire you to practice scared.